Shooting fans, stay tuned for Cowboy Time again in Norco, California, as some 17,000 people show up to enjoy the Old West experience at End of Trail. Plus, the story of the lever-action Winchesters from the Henry to the Model 94 in great guns. And Bob Munden's taking aim at nail heads and aspirin. It's all today here on American Shooter.
American Shooter is brought to you by Colt and the new Colt XS series. If it isn't a Colt, it's just a copy. And by RCBS with a full line of reloading equipment and accessories.
Welcome to this edition of American Shooter. I'm Jim Scouten, and this is a single-action six-gun, like the ones our childhood heroes carried in the early days of television. Well, nowadays, the desire to return to a time of straight shooting and straight talking has made Cowboy Action Shooting the fastest growing of the shooting sports. And each year, the big event is End of Trail, part of our American Shooter Championship Series. It's part living history and part Old West fantasy that will draw more than 17,000 spectators to Norco, California. And it's that same chance to step back in time that attracts more than 600 competitors to shoot for the title of Top Gun. Most shooting stages require a shooter to use 2 revolvers, a rifle, and a shotgun. The guns must be originals or accurate reproductions of models made prior to 1898. One of the revolvers made before 1898 is still made today and is perhaps the most famous gun of all, the .45 caliber Single Action Army by Colt. In fact, the Single Action Shooting Society was founded by collectors wanting a modern event where they could shoot Colt's most famous gun.
Colt was the original single-action army way back in the 1800s, back in the cowboy days, and that's what people here are trying to relive.
This is Tequila, or Richard Young of Texas in real life, reliving the cowboy days. Richard is a past champion and is showing us how it's done. But there are also some pretty talented youngsters here, like the Sun Valley Kid.
Well, I've been shooting a long time, and my dad started shooting this, and he said it's fun, so I joined in.
Not only is the number of shooters growing, but the spectator attendance at the annual 3-day event also continues to climb, with more people attending this competition than any other shooting sport.
The growth has been tremendous, and it's even surprising us. Dressing up, playing the part, stepping back in history, bringing up the values of the Old West. It just makes sense for a lot of people.
To shoot in the competition, you are required to dress in period clothing, and that's why you'll find Wawmaker here doing brisk business selling new cowboy duds made from fabrics with a vintage look. All right, so now you've got the right clothes, you need the right leather for your shooting iron, and some of the very best is made by famous lawman John Bianchi. Bianchi sold more than 20 million police holsters before selling his company to retire. But now he's back to his first love, cowboy leather.
The Frontier gun leather that I'm doing now is made not exactly the way it was made 100 years ago, but as it should have been made 100 years ago. Yet we've got that classic old-world look.
And if you're a big kid acting like your favorite Western hero, why not become one yourself? Bob Rainwater could put you in your very own movie poster as the title character, your choice, good or bad. And Western movies were also the theme during the Wild West show, with Old West historian Phil Spangenberger directing scenes of a chuck wagon race and a trick shooter on horseback. Also in full gallop were the mounted cowboy shooters, including 2-time men's champion Tony Jardine, but giving credit to his horse.
I think it's 90% horse. I never practice with my guns. It's all horsemanship here. You know, as long as your horse is handy, the rest of it falls into place.
Colt star Annie Bianco was gunning for top ladies spot. And while shooting from horseback may look dangerous, this gunplay is actually quite safe.
We are not shooting live ammunition. It's strictly a studio blank and ground corn cob, black powder. It dissipates basically after about 8 feet, and that's what makes it safe for the audience as well as for our fellow shooters.
Annie took the women's title, earning her first mounted shooting world championship, while another lady, Island Girl, was shooting her way to this year's single action women's title. But instead of concentrating on winning, most SAS members concentrate on having fun, shooting the guns from our Western history, and it is that attitude that has made Colt's End of Trail much more than a competition. It's a weekend from a simpler time, a place where the childhood fantasy of playing cowboy and believing in heroes is kept alive for both young and old alike. Congratulations are in order for Callahan, or Fred Ruane in real life, for winning the Top Gun title this year. Hey, want to get into the action? Get your Single Action Shooting Society membership badge? All the info is at their website, sasnet.com. And next, we've got the story of the gun that started End of Trail and the return to the Old West. We've already mentioned that the single action 6-gun is the stuff of our childhood memories of TV and movie heroes. And the Colt Peacemaker is considered by many the gun that won the West. But do you know the history of the gun itself? Well, you're about to. The age of repeating firepower arrived in 1835 when Samuel Colt patented one of the most recognizable and revolutionary gun designs of all time, the revolver. Colt's new 5- and 6-shot wheel guns finally permitted reliable firing of more than just 1 or 2 shots without reloading. Sadly, Sam Colt died at age 47, never witnessing the most famous revolver to bear his name, the 1873 single-action Army Model P, better known as the Peacemaker. In 1872, Colt engineers drew on the best of Sam's past designs to create the first center-fire cartridge handgun. In addition to giving it a 7.5-inch barrel, a 6-round cylinder, and wooden grips, they added a top strap over the cylinder for strength. The team also developed the gun's massive 45 caliber 255 grain metallic cartridge, making it the most powerful revolver of that era. Less than a year after its introduction, the U.S. Army adopted the new revolver as the official sidearm. But the gun would earn its famous name and history in the hands of the frontiersmen who settled the West. Over the years, Peacemakers have been available in more than 30 calibers and in many barrel lengths, but all with the silky smooth action that invites rapid-fire shooting. A look at this cutaway model reveals the sophisticated ratchet mechanism that lies at the heart of the cowboy's sidearm. With one easy backward pull of the thumb, the shooter is able to rotate a fresh cartridge into firing position, cock the hammer, and lock the cylinder. A gentle trigger pull is all that remains to fire the first shot, after which the gun can be fired till empty, as quickly as the shooter can pull the hammer and trigger. Ejecting the spent cases is as simple as it is primitive. Open the cylinder gate with the hammer at half cock, ram the spring-loaded ejector rod back into the empty shell, then rotate and repeat. Disassembly for cleaning is also easy. Depressing the retaining key allows the base pin to slide out and releases the cylinder. Firing a 3rd-generation Peacemaker is like reaching back across time. And with every revolution of the gun's remarkably precise mechanism, your appreciation grows for Colt's crowning creation. Over the last 125 years, more than 500,000 single-action armies have been produced, carrying on the proud legacy of the firearm that history honors as the Peacemaker. The Peacemaker, single action. But that's only one of the guns for cowboy shooting. Coming up, the story of the rifles that won the West. And then, the strangest revolver you've ever seen in gun tech. During the 1860s, this was known as that damn Yankee rifle. This is a Navy Arms reproduction of the Henry that may have been the first repeater. You still can get an argument on that point. But one thing is undisputed. The Henry was the first of the Winchesters that won the West and continue to win fans today.
Great guns. Brought to you by Ruger, arms makers for responsible sportsmen.
The Winchester lever-action rifle began as a simple toggle design from Benjamin Tyler Henry, who worked for Oliver Winchester.
The Henry rifle, which was the first truly practical repeating rifle, and of course the forerunner of the Winchester series, paving the way not only for the Winchesters that followed, but virtually every lever-action rifle today.
The Henry fired the first metallic cartridge, the .44 caliber rimfire.
The follower here, when the rifle was loaded, every time that the rifle is levered and fired, this would move forward. It's feeding those cartridges. So as it got to a certain point, you would have to actually move your hand out of the way so that that follower could move past that point.
By the end of the Civil War, a wooden forestock solved that problem, and a redesigned magazine allowed faster loading.
The Winchester 66 model was originally called the Improved Henry. The Indians liked the shiny brass receiver, and they nicknamed it the Yellow Boy.
The development of more powerful cartridges in the 1870s meant the need for a stronger receiver.
They came out with the Model 1873 rifle, which was Winchester's first centerfire rifle. The 4440, or originally known as the 44 Winchester Central Fire, because it was 44 caliber, 40 grains of black powder. By 1878, Colt decided to chamber some single actions in the same round.
Famous gunmaker John Browning had a hand in creating the Winchester model of 1886. He combined the previous lever action with a bolt locking system similar to the old Sharp's breech block. The long extractor and loading gate allowed longer cartridges like the 4570 to be chambered in these rifles. Using the basic mechanism of the model 1886, the next progression was the model 1892. The two locking bolts are used to give the 92 strength, but the simpler action reduced the weight and cost of this version. In 1894, Winchester came out with the most popular deer rifle ever made, the Model 94. Again, Browning improved the previous design with an even stronger bolt to handle a new hunting cartridge, the Winchester 3030. Although modern versions of the Model 94 have added a receiver-mounted crossbolt safety and side ejection, Browning's design has been essentially unchanged for more than 100 years and is the lightest, fastest, and strongest Winchester ever.
American Shooter presents Gun Tech, the latest in guns and shooting gear.
All right, cowboy shooters, Navy Arms wants your business, and to get it, they have a couple of 1892 Winchester replicas. Both of these have a full octagon barrel and a choice of color case hardening or bluing, like the originals. This is the short rifle version, which was a special order back in the 1800s. It's ideal now for cowboy shooting. Take your choice of .357 mag, 4440, or 45 Colt for just under $500. Pretty good price. Now, here is a handgun that is so totally different that I don't know whether to tell you it's the coolest thing on the planet or the answer to a question nobody asked. You decide. This is the Matiba semi-automatic revolver. It's chambered in .357, and with each pull of the trigger, it fires from the bottom of the cylinder, and the recoil moves the whole action of the gun back to rotate the cylinder and cock the hammer. So what you got here is a double single autoloader action, but with 6 rounds in a cylinder. The Matiba is from American Arms, sells for $1,300. And is it a good idea? I don't know. But these are the latest designs from our friends at Spyderco. These have to be the most common of the higher quality lockback knives in circulation. I'll bet you can think of 3 places right now where you can buy them. But these are the new ones, including a new lightweight signature design by Wayne Goddard. Spyderco's range in price from about $50 to $150, and they are incredibly sharp when you buy them. But eventually, you're gonna need this, the Edge Maker, just 14 bucks, but it does a heck of a job on blades. Now you're gonna have to look for it. You're gonna find the other kind with the ceramic rods most everywhere. That's not the one, trust me, this one, the Edge Maker, and that's Gun Tech. Or was it Knife Tech? Well, whatever. And coming up, Bob Munden's got his tack driver ready, or should we say, nail gun.
American Shooter is brought to you by Smith & Wesson, the world's largest manufacturer of handguns for sporting, law enforcement, and military use since 1852. And by Federal Ammunition. Federal, knockdown power.
You know, we do get suggestions from a lot of you on what you want to see on American Shooter. In fact, we have a survey on our website asking what you want. But one of you took the time to call Bob Munden with an idea. Or was that a challenge? Here's Bob.
From time to time, we get viewers watching American Shooter come up with ideas, and they notify us and say, look, we've got an idea, and here's another one. A fella calls in, he says, look, can you take a nail, stick it in upright, and hit the head of the nail? Can you do that? Well, I don't know, let's give it a try. Not only that, I got 6 of them. I ought to be able to hit 1 or 2 of them. And by the way, I will hit the head of the nail, and I'll use my hammer. A Marlin lever action 45 caliber rifle. Let's give it a try. Or you spot shoot with the rifle. You just shoot, picking a spot, in this case the head of the nail, and putting the bullet where you line your sights, up on the spot. What do you know? We did it. We're gonna add a little dimension to it. What do you say we try it with the old 45 Colt single action and hit the nail on the head once again? Let's give it a try. Again, I'm picking a spot. I'm lining up the 2 sights, front and rear together, and line them dead center, in this case, on the head of the nail itself. You thought I was gonna miss, didn't you? Okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take this nail, place it back on the target board, as such, right there. Well, we got some wet cardboard here, it looks like. We're gonna take an aspirin tablet and place it on the head of the nail. I'm gonna try to shoot the aspirin off the nail without touching the nail. Hit just the aspirin itself. Yes, with the handgun. And how about adding a little dimension to it? How about upside down as well? How many shots I get on this one? I can't hit that aspirin with a whole bullet because part of the bullet, if I hit the aspirin dead center, would take the nail too. So I had to sight myself up where I was only taking a piece of the bullet, rubbing across that aspirin. There you go. You know, doing a shot like that gives me a headache. But then I'm out of aspirin. What are you gonna do? See you next time.
Oh, sorry about your headache, Bob, but the shot was great. Now, here's the story on next week. It's Team Tactics in West Texas with Clint Smith at Thunder Ranch, now the most highly regarded of the firearms training schools. Plus, the Army's transition rifle from muzzleloader to cartridge, the story of the trapdoor in Great Guns, and Byron's really moving, chasing targets for the shot of the week. For American Shooter, I'm Jim Skelton. I'll see you then. And my cowboy alias? Why, 10 Ring.